Welcome back to another episode, guys, and today I'm going to talk about my first time playing the Super Nintendo. So let's jump in the time machine and jump back to the year 2000. And I know you guys are probably thinking, you waited till the year 2000 to play the Super Nintendo? Yes, and here's the reason why. I wasn't a big gamer growing up. I was really into wrestling toys, and that's all I cared about, and that's all I played with was wrestling toys and watch wrestling. And my older brother obviously had a Super Nintendo, but when my father bought him the N64, the Super Nintendo disappeared. So it was just me growing up playing with wrestling toys and just watching my older brother play, Mario, Super Mario World, seeing Ocarina of Time for the first time was just mind blown. I talked about how I seen Shenmue for the first time. I couldn't believe my eyes. But when I first saw Ocarina of Time and seeing this character just grow up over time, it just blew my mind. It's equivalent to shitting myself. And like my fondest memories of watching my brother play video games was, watching him play Resident Evil and then locking me in the bedroom and then me just screaming and crying, trying to get out, and him just laughing his ass off. But let's jump right back to the year 2000, where I got my chance to finally play the Super Nintendo. And I had a friend, his name was Taylor, and he lived right in front of our house on my parents' street, but he was always a handheld gamer, and he only had the Game Boys. That's all he really played, was always the Pokemon games, and he would play a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but nothing too serious. But one day his mom came home, and she had went to a yard sale and came home with a Super Nintendo, and it came with 3 games, and it came with Yoshi's Island, which is a great game, but it still gives me nightmare hearing Mario crying. See what I mean? And it also came with Paperboy 2, and what a fun game Paperboy 2 is. And it's funny to think games like Crazy Taxi and Paperboy and Simpson Hit and Run could be such fun games, but they are awesome. But the one game that we plugged and played in first was X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. There's only one thing left to do, and that was to have a good old classic sleepover. And during the sleepover, we were hemming and humming what game to play first. We had those 3 fantastic choices, but we ultimately settled on X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. And man, X-Men was so big in the 90s, man, and it was just everywhere. And you had X-Men, you had Pokemon, you had Dragon Ball Z. But man, as all kids, we loved the X-Men, so we were super excited to plug this in. And when we did, oh my goodness, was this game fucking fantastic. A quick synopsis of the storyline: Charles Xavier sends the X-Men to the islands of Genosha to liberate the mutants. After completing all the character levels, Xavier then sends you to the Danger Room to defeat the holograms of Omega Red and Juggernaut for training. After your training is complete, he sends you to Magneto's ship to stop him from destroying the island of Genosha. Oh my, how much times I'm gonna have to say this in this video. The music in this game is incredible. Incredible. We hear all the time of great soundtracks in video games. This has to rate somewhere in the top 10. I listen to this soundtrack once a month. I swear, I'm not lying to you. I just had it on the other day. I absolutely love this soundtrack. It is fantastic. It matches the characters. It matches that 90s era, that feel. It's fucking fantastic. But what else is great about this game is the characters. You get Cyclops, Wolverine, Psylocke, Beast, Gambit, and then you have all the supporting. You have the Broods, you have Sentinels, you have Task, you have Apocalypse, you have Storm, Bishop, Jean Grey, Rogue, Jubilee. And what's so great about them is we get that classic 90s cartoon style characters. The depth perception of this game just draws you in. It's amazing. And a lot of beat 'em ups, they're kind of further away, so you get more of the visuals, the road and stuff, and then the characters are a little further back in the depth. This game had the characters right up front. It felt like you were in the game at the time. The graphics were incredible. Just the combat system was great. The controls were easy. Obviously, they were easy, but the controls, it wasn't laggy. It was perfect. The character did the commands you wanted it to do. It was just a gorgeous, gorgeous game, and I can't stress enough how amazing that soundtrack. I want to hear what your first Super Nintendo game was. I know this is a little bit of a short video. It wasn't a review or nothing. I just wanted to come and talk about the first video games I ever played on the Super Nintendo. And the first one I ever played was X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. And I'm telling everyone out there, you'd rather play this game than watch the original movies. And guys, like always, post below your first Super Nintendo game you ever played and your experience. And I'll see you next time for another episode.